Yo, yo, what's goody, everybody? We are here live, the Fix for New York podcast. I am your host, Mr. Cash First, 456 on Instagram. You can call me Cash for short. My co host, Z Dot, will not be with us here this evening in person, but he is here with us in spirit. And I want to introduce a guy who has brought a lot of hope and inspiration for me, within me, along with many other minorities. That's how you know it's real. People of color, along with the Second Amendment community, all on its own. The host of the Diversity Shoots, in which he goes to several different gun ranges to teach those members of urban United States and anybody else as well that the Constitution applies to them all. The host of the Second is for Everyone podcast. Amazing, talented, intellectually driven entrepreneur, Second Amendment man, and living legend in the flesh. And when, God forbid we all pass, I say you deserve a statue as well. OG, Mr. Tony Simon. Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise.
Thanks for having me on, man. I really appreciate it. I'm glad you're doing this, bro. Look, we need voices.
Yeah.
Let me take this thing off. It is choking me to death, but hey,
shout
out for Anthony.
We're going to be here. That's how you know Israel. Get comfortable. We're going to be here for an hour and a half.
Shout out for Anthony Calandro.
Shout out Anthony Calandro. Gun for hire, by the way. You see that? Miss Anthony Calandro, who was here earlier this week. Shout out Sean Fisher, Keith Panelon, Marsh Ray, Kevin Dixie, Dick Heller, Polka Dots, I forgot her name. Cheryl Todd doing it for the ladies. Gabby Franco, so many great names in the 2A community. Everybody doing their thing. Coleon Noir, can't forget Coleon Noir.
2020 has turned out to be really good because it allowed a lot of us in the Second Amendment community that meet online, that have spoken online. It allowed us, with the Zoom meetings and with all of that, to actually get together. Gun Rights Policy Conference, which I spoke at in September. It was all done online. We did a Second Amendment rally in the beginning of November, all done online. 30 speakers, Maj Toure, Kevin Dixie, Rob Pincus. The list goes on. There was a lot of people there that were Second Amendment advocates from every aspect of life. Chris Chen from Top Shot, he was on. The Second Amendment is our right. It's us, man. And I think we've danced around it long enough.
We definitely have.
And it's the time has come. More and more truth has come out. We find out the truth about our history, which has been denied. We find out how duplicitous and backstabbing the government can be and has been to people of color, to LGBTQ community. It has been, and it's beat these people down over years. Now we're into the Donald Trump presidency, and some of the very same people in the left or Democratic Party are running around screaming Trump is racist and wants to kill all people of color or put you in camps or crazy things like that. But they're also the same ones that want to disarm you. And I'm like, well, one, your argument isn't consistent. Why would I disarm and then allow the government to put me in camps? How's this? We all know the government cannot be trusted based upon past performances.
Exactly.
So why would I entrust the government with my safety?
Exactly.
So the answer is no. My safety and my responsibilities are mine. If you may have noticed, I'm slightly overweight.
We're gonna call you filled in the body, that's just a lot of muscle mass right there.
But what I'm saying is this, dude, I have responsibility to my family to get healthier. 100% right. But while I'm doing this, I need to have the ability to protect my family from all threats.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right? So I'm not as young as I used to be.
You're still a young man.
But I'm like, back in the day, Back when I bounced, back when I was in the military, back when I was in the Marine Corps, I would have no problem.
Mm-hmm.
2, 3 dudes. I worked as a bouncer. I worked as a professional bodyguard.
Yeah.
So I've done the work. I'm old now. I have other ways to protect myself that are much more effective and efficient.
Mm-hmm.
And I want you to understand that too. In my time working as, right now I'm a locksmith. What we do is come up. What I've done over the last over 25 years, come up with security locking systems, keeping people safe in their homes, everything from domestic dispute to stalkers to break-ins, that kind of thing.
The whole spiel.
The whole thing, including anything from putting locks on your home, safes, that kind of thing, building up to Fortune 500 and Fortune 100 companies that I've done work on. So the whole thing is this: there are threats out there, regardless of whether you want to think they are or not. Nothing makes you special that somehow you won't fall victim to a physical threat or physical violence.
Mm-hmm.
You should have a way to answer that.
Exactly.
You should have more than one way to answer that, by the way, because a gun is not the only answer. I'm a Second Amendment advocate. I'm also a firearms instructor. I'm also a defensive firearms instructor. And one of the shows I host is what is it called? Oh, Self-Defense Gun Stories is actually the name of the podcast.
Oh, I didn't know about that one.
Yeah.
Pardon me.
Self-Defense Gun Stories is on. It's on the Self-Defense Radio Network, and every week they bring in a new firearms instructor to talk about 4 incidences of civilian self-defense, and they're just 4 incidences from newspapers. And what it does is help you see that there are different situations. One week it can be 2 guys staying in their store during the riots that have been happening during the summer that had to defend their store from multiple people that broke in. One was a mom who was just at the mall to go shopping, and she parked beside a bus stop, and the dude jumped out and stabbed her.
Wow.
Kidnapped her in her own vehicle and had her drive her somewhere, and she ended up putting 3 in his chest.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Oh, so she was.
Yeah, she was strapped. But the whole thing is, what did they do right? What did they do wrong? What can we learn from it? So if you listen to a show like that, it breaks you out of that mind zone, that thought process that nothing can happen to me. It's like, no, it can happen to you.
And that podcast, I'm glad that you said that. Yes, it can happen to you.
Yes.
How they always say there's always an exception to the rule, and that exception proves the rule. That other podcast that's in correspondence with the 2A for E podcast.
Nope, had a totally different network.
Okay.
I was asked to be a part of it when they started it up, and my thought is, as a firearms instructor, way too many of us have this John Wick fantasy about how our armed defense would go down. And it's like, what are you basing that on? Movies that you saw, a thought that's running through your head? Why don't we talk to real people, or excuse me, take stories of real people and see how they solve that problem? Yeah. And now you have different scenarios. We had an Asian dude, I forgot what city he was in. 6 cats tried to rob him.
Damn.
Outside of the jewelry store. Multiple dudes were armed. He disarmed one of the dudes, shot him with his own gun.
Oh my God.
And then proceeded to whip the asses of the other 6 until they got in the car and ran away.
I love hearing stories like that simply because, you just broke everything down right there, that you're not special.
Nope.
It is not a privilege. It is not if you need it. It is your right to have it by any means necessary beyond the firearm. It is as being as well equipped as possible to make it back home safe, the same way you safely left your house that morning, and to live to see another day. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, written within the United States Constitution.
I like firearms as a thing, but understand when it comes to self-defense, there's a lot more than firearms. Do not get caught up in the romanticism of being this gunfighter dude. Understand, the right to protect yourself is there, but you also have to have the ability to think your way through situations, out of situations, not put yourself into situations, learn to de-escalate situations. There are a lot involved, but let's go ahead and understand that you need this basic right because you have no idea what will happen. And sadly, history is an indicator of things that can happen in the future. I think Mark Twain was the one that said history might not repeat itself, but it does rhyme.
Yeah.
100 years ago, this year, between 2019, between 1919 and 1920 was the Red Summer.
Ah, okay.
Where blacks were attacked across America, at least 20 different cities, all across the country. I mean, many people have heard of Black Wall Street.
Yeah.
And the burn that happened in 1919. But people also heard of Rosewood in Florida, where they burned the entire town of Rosewood down, which was a black town. Chased people out of it. People who used to live in that town, their families still live in that area today. And it was violence visited upon blacks during pretty much a 2-year period. Many people don't even know the history, so you don't know it can repeat itself. I hear people all the time saying the Second Amendment is antiquated. It's not something that that's applicable today. And I'm like,
yeah, that is outdated.
Yeah,
it was written back in, how they say
it was black and
the
black
Stone
powder
Age.
days, and and I'm like, understand, you don't know your history because they did not teach you this in school. They did not teach you that one of the last black men were lynched old school swinging from a tree in 1969. Wow. That was not 100 years ago. I
didn't even know that. You just said, shit. Thank you.
So yes, these things have happened. Actually, there's dates after that, but off the top of my head, I know it happened because I was told it happened because it happened in my hometown. And we drove past the tree the man was hung from every day on the way to school. What was his sin? What was his horrible crime? They thought he waved at a white woman. So they surrounded his house in the middle of the night and said he had to come out or they were going to burn the house with his family and it down to the ground.
Holy shit. Now, is this Emmett Tills or this
no,
is a completely different incident?
Different. Nope.
Wow. Look at that. Please continue.
So my whole thing was, you drive past that as a kid, you see that. Maybe it's in your mind's eye. Who the hell knows? But you see it over and over. And as I got older, as an adult, now, I look at that and go, what must it have been like? Now, in my mind, I'm seeing Klan robes and torches and dudes in this house looking at his family. And you got to make this decision. Do you trust the people that just said they're going to murder you not to continue and kill your family anyway if you sacrifice yourself to go out and hang from this tree? What kind of effed up question is that? Let me explain what happens. You surround my house and say, come out or we'll burn it down. You better be behind some thick cover because I got some heavy duty ish and I'm laying rounds down. All right.
You gotta be able to defend yourself.
Yes.
Thank you so much. And it's crazy that you mentioned that story because we hear the stories of Emmett Tills. We hear this story now. I'm not sure the name of the individual, but we look at how they framed the Black Panthers. They framed the Young Lords, and that's our people that were side by side, pure blacks, Puerto Ricans, Cubans, Mexicans, etc. And it's just like, why do we want to put ourselves at a disadvantage within the nation that is, self-proclaimed the freest nation on the planet, and a nation that has its foundation, which is the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Articles and all that allow you to be able to enjoy yourself as much as you want, express yourself as much as you want, and defend yourself along with your family from any given threat. And that's, I got my flag on tonight because just to let people know that we're here.
Yeah.
You get me? And how you said, history can either repeat itself or be a rhyme leading towards the future. We don't want this to happen again. If you, for example, go down a certain street, God forbid, and at that street, that there's an annoying, tyranny, infringement enforcement official there that is looking for a reason to bother somebody, or some stick-up kids or whatever, you're going to do one of two things. Either not go through there anymore or be very precautious if you have to go through there. You feel me?
You do. Again, as a locksmith. Okay, here's the thing. And this is some free advice. And I really wish, I remember sayings, but I don't remember who said them,
Yeah.
and it really sucks. Because I want to give people their due, so please forgive me.
No, it's understandable.
But it says about self-defense: avoid going to stupid places at stupid times with stupid people. And sometimes the stupid is you. You know darn well, pretty much after 11 o'clock, it gets iffy.
Troublesome. Yeah.
It gets iffy. And my whole thing is, as a locksmith, as a dude who answered emergencies and came out and took care of people, my job was to go out at stupid times to stupid places and help out stupid people.
Yeah.
You've locked yourself out of the car. You locked yourself out of the house. You lost your keys. You're at the club. Well, the club closed like half an hour ago. Now I'm in the parking lot at the club with you somewhere, watching my back. I have break-ins. I had break-ins 3 o'clock in the morning. One of the funniest ones was in New Brunswick.
Oh, shit.
Oh, dude, they took an axe to the back door of this plumbing supply place. They actually freaking chopped a hole in the door.
When evil wants to execute, it's going to find its way.
It's funny because people never think about, oh, well, that's just somebody breaking in. Yeah, what if that was your ex? What was that? My whole thing is, look, people have to take care of themselves. Law enforcement is going to be there for the cleanup and the report. If you're lucky, they won't be able to breach your home or breach that door until after law enforcement gets there. It's important to know that you do not know the future. You don't know it. You have no idea what will happen in your life, or what will happen in your relationship or your kids' relationships that will require, or that you would have liked to have an efficient, effective means to defend yourself against someone younger, stronger, whatever. So let's say you're young right now and you go, I'll never need a firearm. All right, well, then all of a sudden you find yourself 40 years from now that your granddaughter has a stalker boyfriend.
Yeah. God forbid, we don't wish that upon
anybody.
anybody.
I'm just saying, you're 22, 23, 25 right now. You have no idea what the future holds. So why would you get rid of one of your rights based on a feeling? These rights were fought for, they were paid for in blood, sweat, and tears of your relatives, of your forefathers that you don't even know. They understood that they needed to have the same rights as everyone else. Understand, if you're a black man, if you're a person of color, you did not get all of your civil rights until the end of the civil rights movement, which happened in 1968. That was supposedly, if you Google it, the last of the civil rights legislation, which said anybody can live anywhere they want to, regardless of their skin color. So, again, if you were born after 1968, you're the first generation of African American that was born with all of your rights. You were born with the same rights as a white man. How are you ready to give those rights away in less than 50 years?
Thank you. That's what I tell people all the time. Like, why are you going to give any type of hostile entity any leverage whatsoever? Because people always talking about, oh, I want to live my life, I want to enjoy myself, you know, I have a right to freedom of speech. You go from here to Florida to California, whatever, and you're, oh, I have a right to privacy, blah blah blah. So why are you bypassing the second, which is the only right that will ensure that you're able to respond to any type of hostility to the best of your ability, you know?
Another thing gets me is, look at your allies in the fight against your own rights. The same people that are telling you, well, the Civil War was 150 years ago. We didn't pop out the Civil War equal. It took another 100 years for us to be equal in the eyes of the law. So, no, your Civil War ended 150 years ago. Ours continued for another century. So, no, we're not the same. We're not the same. We have different options. It's kind of effed up. But when we get pulled over by the police, I don't care how he look at me. I'm looking at how I look at him. Based on how I was born and raised, how I look at him is, this dude can kill me. This dude can kill me. And a majority of the people that will hear about the news story, if it's caught the right way, if it's reported at all, will go, well, what did the black dude do?
Yeah, they're gonna look for a reason to dig in to give the public servants
Yeah.
leverage.
The benefit of the doubt every time without knowing anything about the situation. Well, he had a badge.
Yes.
And I'm like, him having a badge does not make him a good human being because he has a badge. It doesn't mean he can make the right decision because he has a badge. The kind of person he is determines whether he's a good human being. The kind of person he is makes him have the right decisions. But just don't assume because this dude puts on polyester and a badge that every decision he makes is good or right or even respectful. Now, will this dude kill me? I don't know, but he has the ability and the authority.
Yes, exactly. There's a chance.
So, my thing is, hey, how you doing, officer? I'm Joe freaking Friendly. You pulled me over. Why? I don't want to give this dude a chance.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, to be fair, and I don't have to be, but I will be because that's the kind of person I am. You have no idea what that dude drove away from 5 minutes ago. He could have driven away from somebody who looked just like me, spitting on him and calling him a piece of crap and every foul name in the book. Now he rose up on me and I'm like, what you pull me over for? No.
And he's going to let it off on you now. Yeah, so you're trying to diffuse that, prevent
My
that.
whole thing is this. A win for me is going home at the end of the day.
Exactly.
You're not going to beat this badge on the side of the road. So let's take a minute. Now, maybe it's because of the work I did as a locksmith, where 9 o'clock in the morning you're doing an eviction and throwing somebody out of their home. However you feel about that. Now, I've been both verbally abused. And I'm like, yo, dude, this Jersey, yo, it took them 9 months to get you out this house. Don't be mad at me. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you don't get evicted in Jersey in 2 months. It takes months.
Okay.
But I leave that. Then I'll go to a place where, let's say, somebody just got robbed. Like kick the door in.
Shit.
Then the next job I go to is like spousal abuse. And then I go to somebody that bought a new house. This is all in the course of less than an 8-hour period as a locksmith.
Yeah, so you're seeing it.
Yeah, so as a police officer that can go through those same emotional roller coasters and dealing with people, but they have to cuff somebody, stuff them, listen, you never know what the person that you just ran into went through 5 minutes before you met them, regardless of whether they're a cop, they're a human being.
Yeah, because I deal with it all the time at my job.
Exactly.
I have empathy for every new face that I see, no matter how much of a hard time I had with the previous person.
Gotta let it go.
Exactly.
That was then. This is now. Not their problem.
Yeah.
Be a decent human being.
Exactly. And, we often get looked at, as advocates who are crucial, critical, and very observant of, quote unquote, law enforcement, when technically, constitutionally, it's supposed to be the militias that are called upon to enforce the laws of the land, hence law enforcement. But we have these, entities now that I solidified for a fact the only constitutional entity is a sheriff whom the town, municipality, city, and county vote for, who is held to a certain standard. These local police departments, these different tiers that are aside from the sheriff's office, sheriff's department, they get a lot more leverage, a lot more leniency, and God forbid you question them. You're like, oh, you're a cop hater. You probably have some type of criminal intent, blah blah blah. And it's just like, hello, again, back to the point that you have made. Plenty of others have said the same thing within the 2A community and just those on the whole liberty movement, constitutional side. How can you be so reliant and trustful of government? My Puerto Rican flag right here, you know what this resembles? Emancipation, because Puerto Rico, the island, was originally being I'll go and say it like somewhat held hostage by Spain,
Mm-hmm.
because originally it was the indigenous Taino Indians who lived there, natives. Spain came through, started regulating and all that. They had arms. We had spears, and there was some type of diplomacy occurring. But since they were more well equipped, they said, "Man, fuck this. We're gonna do whatever we want to do." So boom, they started, taking hostile action against my ancestral lineage. That's when the whole mixing thing started occurring, right? So within all that, when the natives started fighting back and eventually ran Spain out, realizing, hey, we weren't that equipped for these guys, and we lost a lot of bodies, but we freed ourselves. Let's try to establish ourselves as a self-reliant, self-efficient nation. I think it was 2 or 3 years. Anybody watching? I last time I reviewed this was a few months back. I could dig into it. I got the laptop right here, but we had about 2 or 3 years of full blown independence, nationism, and then what happens after that? United States came in. Now what the United States did, they came in very friendly. They came with the lasagna. Hey, Puerto Ricans, guess what? We're practically, arguably, the strongest nation on the planet. We will grant you guys full blown citizenship in return to just letting us have access to the island. Nothing bad. Puerto Ricans believed it. They came in as that friendly face with bad intent. Not to say that I'm not proud to have the access to United States citizenship, you know, uh, being that event individually occurred, it was able to grant my family, along with many others, a passage to come over here to be able to make, a living, and either send it back to the island, whatever was made here, invest it back in the island, or either continue on here, because realistically Puerto Rico is a small island, is 100 miles by 35 miles. So if you have that many people on it, and nobody like really gets off it, which I'm all for all of us being back on the island, having a great time, but it'll be a heavy stockpile, so it's good to have an extra piece of land which we could freely travel on. But again, the blind trust in government. Uh,
No government can be trusted.
uh-huh.
And here's the thing.
It came with a price.
It always does. Because you never have a name. Oh, it's the government. It's the government. When government gets big enough, no one has personal responsibility.
Yeah.
It's just the government.
Mm-hmm.
And my whole thing is stop trusting this thing. You can't trust this thing called government.
Yeah.
You have to be politically active, and I tell people this all the time. That's why I host the diversity shoots.
Yep.
I want you to be politically active. You do not have to vote for the same candidate as me, but you should really vote for your rights. And any candidate that wants to crap on your rights, you need to shut them down. You cannot trust someone that wants to take your rights away. Regardless of party. Regardless of party. Don't buy into the party bullshit. Do not buy into the party bullshit. No political party has your interest in mind, regardless of what color you are, what your sexuality is, what your religion is. None of them care about you.
Mm-hmm. And to add to that, and pardon me if I'm interrupting you.
Do it, bro.
I'm just glad that you guys are hearing it from other voices, faces, people who have way more credibility than me, because he paved the way for guys like myself, like Maj Toure, like Puerto Rican Pistolero, like Latino Armado, like Firearms Chronicles, like Julian Noir, etc., to continue. Because if you're trusting government, all you're ever going to do is put self-responsibility that no matter where you're from, anywhere on this planet, you have parents or you work at a job, you have self-responsibility to behave and to do whether it's chores or your job as you're supposed to. Same thing, self-responsibility here. You should be the first person looking out for your well-being, as long as you're not screwing others over. You put in blind trust in government, it's going to lead somewhere bad eventually. As you said, as it continues to grow, that friendly face that came, hey, how you doing, blah, 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 becomes very cynical with a hidden agenda. That's what happened in PR. They started little by little, the boiling frogs in the pot theory.
Boiling frogs in the pot.
Little by little, they started putting military bases, which is all right, not too much of a radar activator, but it's starting to be like, what's going on here? One, two, they started conducting experiments on very, very poor Puerto Rican citizens, both male and female, and it just kept going from there. The Jones Act, Puerto Rico started feeling damage from that, and this is all because trusting government. Oh, the government is always right. And then when guys like us take, a few moments to educate others and let them know, hey, don't be so blindsided. The same way you wouldn't fully trust your own neighbor, the same way you wouldn't fully trust your job to not fire you for no bullshit reason, don't trust a government to just blindly have your best interest, because if they could make any type of revenue generation off of you, or conduct experiments involving their citizens for any type of product they want to put out, any type of theory they want to test, whatever, these people catch the fucking chicken shit syndrome. And then we get looked at like we're crazy. And again, it brings us back to the original point that if you continue to give big government all the trust in the world, history is either going to repeat itself, or it's going to have a similar rhyme to it. Just like in hip-hop, you have a lot of hip-hop artists, just like in sports.
Think about this. All right, where do I go to? Let's go to Native Americans.
Mm-hmm.
Native Americans fought. Some did, some didn't. Some fought against other Native Americans on the side of our government.
Yeah.
What ended up happening were none of them got equal rights. They had the Trail of Tears. They got marched over. They got put on reservations. And then put on the reservations, they got the crappiest food. Many died. Lack of education. They still live on the reservations today. That's the government taking care of you. You do not want that. All right. Well, that was them, and that was then, and that was so long ago. That was in the 1800s. All right. Well, all right. 1940s. They snatched up Japanese Americans. Put them in camps.
Yes.
Told them that you have an hour to pack 2 bags, and then kept them locked up for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, that was, look, man, you can't keep telling me how long something was going as it repeats itself.
Exactly.
Now, they were talking about doing that thing to Muslims in 2001.
Right after, yeah.
And I'm like, yo, bro, they have no problem doing this.
Again.
No fly list. Has like 65,000 names on it.
Yeah.
Hold on. You know, in New Jersey, if you're on a no-fly list, you can't purchase a firearm.
Yeah, same thing in New York.
So people are like, well, yes, that's right. I'm like, hold on, stop. You're not convicted of anything.
Mm-hmm.
You're not a felon.
Mm-hmm.
You're on a list
Mm-hmm.
that they can't tell you why you're on there, how you're on there, or even how to get off. They put you on a list and deny you your rights, and a whole bunch of you are like, well, that makes sense. No, it doesn't. If there's 50 to 60,000 potential terrorists, the hell are you people doing in law enforcement? Clear that list, dog, and get people off of it if they haven't done anything. And if they have, well, do what you do. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But how are you going to tell me that there's tens of thousands of people on the list that are potential terrorists and they can't own a firearm?
Mm-hmm.
But how hard are you trying to figure out who is and who ain't?
Exactly. It's just a blindsided.
But that's the government taking care of you, unless you're one of those 60,000 people that, again, doesn't have your Second Amendment right. And hey, look, everybody doesn't own a gun.
Yeah.
Everybody doesn't own a firearm. Everybody on that list is not a Muslim. Everybody on that list can be you or me.
Yeah, exactly.
So now, right now, with the rush in 2020, with people wanting to buy firearms, I'm sure a lot of people on that list just found out they're on that list.
Yeah, and that's the government taking care of you again, taking care of the shit out of us. Because right now, what we see going on, OG, you got a lot of businesses closing by 10 p.m. in many different states. Puerto Rico as well. Puerto Rico is a commonwealth. Just want to put that out there before anybody comes talking nonsense to me. Um, Even in Puerto Rico, I was on the phone with my cousin a few nights ago because he's glad I started this up as well, and I'm slowly bringing him more pro Second Amendment because his thing again is the whole fear factor. I won't put the chicken sound effect on my cousin, my primo, Luis. I love you, Pucho. You know, all of y'all out there be, but that's the government taking care of you. They shutting down the growth of small businesses. They're controlling the way you shop. Now for the holidays, they're trying to restrict how many people you can have in your own household. Yeah. And this is something that I said the other night with Calandro here, OG. How long till they start regulating the way you shower and conduct certain activities within your bathroom and even within your bedroom? Hey, you know, the government is very shaky when it comes to people being engaged with whoever they want to engage with, regardless of sexual orientation, you know? And you got the Me Too movement going completely out of control. Government taking care of you. You want to continue trusting that shit? How many times you going to let somebody come over your crib and rob you till you say, yo, let me stop letting this guy or gal, whatever,
look,
come through?
This thing is deep. It's really deep. And how deep do you want to look into it? Because people, well, you sound like a conspiracy theorist. No, I sound like someone who knows history.
And is watching what's going on right in front of our eyes.
It's happening. It's happened.
Government taking care of us. We don't even know who the president is right now.
Go back to your school days. When you're in school. Some of the most boring classes. History, social studies, civics.
Pardon me, let me grab a mic real quick, but continue, OG.
All right. These are the most boring classes. Here's a problem. They made it that way. They didn't want you to know the truth. Because if you knew the truth, you'd ask questions. How come I didn't know this? I didn't know anything about the Lovings. The Loving case with a black woman married to a white man. They were arrested in the state of Virginia. And it took 4 years for them to go to court. It was the Lovings, 1967. Mm-hmm. They made it legal for mixed marriages to happen everywhere in America. That wasn't 100 years ago.
That was pretty
recent. That was in many people out there, their parents' lifetime, definitely their grandparents' lifetime. Yeah. This isn't forever ago. You cannot, I don't know how I keep saying it. You don't know your history because they made sure the history was boring as fuck. Yep. They made sure it was a snooze fest. When they put your government's work, your government doing work, where's it at? C-SPAN. Mm-hmm. Who the hell watches C? If your TV could only get C-SPAN, you'd burn your fucking house down. you throw the TV out the window or burn the house down to get away from.
And that's what this whole podcast is about. It's funny that you mentioned that particular sentence. They make it boring.
Intentional.
That's how you know it's real. What I'm trying to do is translate, you know, guys like you and I, because you do that diversity shoot all the time, and you can vouch for me. I've brought a solid 30, 40 new faces, and they all say the same thing. Not only did I learn firearm safety, proper protocol, and discipline, but I learned some history that they didn't even teach me in school.
They don't want you to know it. Mm-hmm. If you knew the real history of America, you would have zero doubt in your mind that the Second Amendment is needed. You'd have none. Because every race, every religion, every sexuality has been attacked by the government.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So if you didn't know that, you'll say stupid crap online like, well, it couldn't happen here. Baby, it's already happening.
You gotta wear a mask everywhere you go. They want to know and make sure that you don't have a certain capacity of people above that number within your own household that you pay for. Can you imagine? I pay rent up in this motherfucker, and you telling me what the hell?
These are just the latest restrictions. You have many more restrictions. How's this? You want solar power? That's you have to run that shit past the government. You just can't put up solar panels on your roof. You want an extension to your house? You got your house, the one you pay all the bills on, the one you pay taxes on. the one you pay property tax on. You want to make it bigger, you have to get approval from your township to make it bigger. You have to get approval to add to it. And then after you add to it, they charge you more taxes for upgrading it. Understand, this is your government is in every aspect of your life, and when are you going to say enough is enough? That's up to you, but that's also part of being an activist. I am a Second Amendment advocate, but I want you to be an advocate for your own freedom. I want you to learn that it's not impossible. This is my thing. I ain't asking you to do my thing. I'm asking you to celebrate your right. I'm asking you to exercise your right, but you got a thing that you feel passionate about. Get off your ass and get busy fighting for that right. Never stop. Never stop fighting for what you believe in, but you got to believe in something. Look, people on this show, people that watch this show are probably in your age group.
It's definitely a mix. Like right now, we actually have a few people watching that are saying, "Hey, so far so good on the content and all that. That they're in full support." One of the guys is actually in his early 50s, and along with the viewership, I want to give a shout out to Sunny D, Nori, DJ EFN, the whole Drink Champs team, Drunk Cousin Carlito, Young Really, all you guys. They just gave me some good news right now, along with the support. So let's see if we could continue building right there, because part of this podcast was actually inspired by their podcast as well, the whole Drink Champs podcast. So much love to them, and they say that they've been more observant of me, and cool. So far they're liking what they're seeing. So shout out towards that. When like I said, when I bring people and they say that they learn something new, whether it be hands-on with the freedom tools or something in history, they also say, I never thought people of color would be able to not only be able to exercise such rights, because we see it in the news all the time. Yeah. If it's no disrespect to white people, I refuse to hate white people. I've had so many great white people, help me in my life. But hear us out on this. When we exercise our Second Amendment right, we're seen more as a threat. When they exercise their Second Amendment right, it's seen more of a normality. Yeah. So when they see you hosting these diversity shoots, they see guys like me bringing people in, they're just like, yo, we would have never thought that we would have some type of spotlight within this particular right, within this particular community, and to be able to start educating more people of our backgrounds and helping them overcome the infringements, which is quote unquote current gun control legislation. It's all infringements. It's all rooted in racism, along with overall dominance of the United States citizen, how Marsh Toure said. Massive control for them to be able to see guys like us having leeway in this and building on momentum. Because you saw up until, this little event came through, this whole pandemic, whatever, we were growing. Every single diversity shoot, new faces, more faces. We was running out of pizza really quick.
We actually had to limit the number of people that were coming to Anthony Calandro's Gun for Hire range because it had gotten so out of hand that we
Love you, Calandro.
Of course, always. We had so many people that we were jacking up the hallways, bro. We were in the hallways.
Yep.
We parked all. Anthony was like, "Look, man, you're gonna have to limit the number of people that come in here because we can't even run the business because you have so many diversity shoot people." And that's a straight shout out to all people like you that said, "Hey, I know this guy. He makes it inviting. He wants you to come." Mm-hmm. I'm like, "You damn right I want you to come." I didn't know this because I'm not that bright. Mm-hmm. Understand? I want to go do something. I never thought about the consequences of what happens if keeping it real goes wrong. Mm-hmm. And I just kept it real and went and did my thing. Yeah. Everybody ain't like that. A lot of people have, a sense of self-preservation and won't do some crazy shit that I would do. I had no problem going to a range full of white people I don't know.
Yeah.
All right? But the depends on what you've been told in your head that can happen to you and who you've been told that by. I come from the country. I am born and raised in Southwest Virginia, tobacco country, country as fuck. And I come from a place where you had to be armed. The Klan was alive and well. Again, the last person was killed in 1969 in my hometown. So
history.
Got you. Happens. What is my fear? Understand, my fear is not to be able to take a motherfucker with me if he's trying to take me out. All right? So, no fear. Really. Marine Corps, whole thing, I got this. I made my peace with God back when I left home at 17 years old and joined the Corps. I really did. Everybody who knows me knows I love them, knows I care about them. They know what I'm passionate about. I've said my piece. If I don't ever see you again, you will never be able to say, I have no idea how Tony felt about me.
Exactly.
No,
yeah.
I love my family. I love my friends. I care about what I do. And if I die tonight, I've done the best I can. A lot of people don't have that. So, cool. My host, my diversity shoot. You got a safe place. You got a place that welcomes you. When I'm there, you're welcome. If anybody says anything sideways, come to me.
Yep.
Come to me. But understand something. People that volunteered my event, come to my event, welcome you, even if they don't look like you. They might say something stupid. They might use the wrong word. They might use the wrong pronoun. They might do something that's against your religion, as in they're cursing in front of like Muslim ladies and stuff. You don't do that. They don't know that. Maybe that's the way they speak. Maybe they touch a woman that is not their wife or not in their family. Look, accidents happen. I'm a hugger dude. Totally don't understand. And when you're in a situation like that of diversity, understand that you not only have to meet people halfway. Halfway is still your comfort zone. Meeting someone halfway, you didn't put yourself out. Meet somebody at 60%.
Yeah.
Put yourself out there a little bit and understand. Yo, why that motherfucker call me boy?
Yeah.
Well, he calls everybody boy because he's like 70.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That one right there in particular, pardon me to interrupt you, but that's a lot of my friends that, urban, very, very into the whole, inner city culture and all that. That's always one of their biggest precautions.
Boy?
Are we going to be called boy when we get there? And I tell them, look, I can't guarantee 100%, but what I will say is this. Try to comprehend where they're coming from the same way you would like for them to comprehend where you're coming from. Because at the end of the day, big government has a plan for all of us.
Oh, yeah. They want you divided. Once you're divided, it's easy to snap you all off. You're together, it's hard to do.
It's actually in the art of war as well.
It's 100% the art of war.
Yeah, that's one of the strategies in it. If you're dealing with a gigantic threat, pick off the small pockets of it.
One also part of the art of war. You find yourself at a crossroads between two enemies. Ally with one of them, ally with one of them to attack the other.
Exactly, and right there, to alley-oop off of that, OG, I'd rather align myself being, a minority, us being minorities. We'd rather align ourselves with these gun nut rednecks than, these government corrupt political quote-unquote elites.
Look, you and that redneck, you and that redneck share a lot of things
in common.
You both freedom.
Yeah.
Country music is just hip hop music with another beat. If you listen to it,
of course.
What do you have in common with them? More things than you don't. Same breakfast cereal, same cartoons. You watch Dragon Ball Z too, quit bullshit, and so did they. They have a lot of things in common with you, but it seems the media and the government itself and your social media wants to keep you apart. Understand, some of the videos you're seeing with no reference whatsoever have been planted there. Some of those videos where somebody's dropping the N-word for no reason, the camera's all shaky, and those could be actors, bro. There's a concerted effort to keep us separated.
Yeah,
we definitely know that. What was that? Wall Street? Something Wall Street. What was the protest? Damn.
Occupy
Wall Street.
Yep.
Was not real. Occupy Wall Street was funded. All right? Occupy Wall Street was funded. March for Our Lives was funded. Moms Demand Action is all funded by billionaires. years.
Mm-hmm.
It is not real. My shit's real. Maj's shit is real. NRA, even though they suck, excuse me, how do I put this? Because I want to be fair. NRA has done great work in the past. They do great work. 70% of their money does go to the work that the NRA says they do. They could have done way better.
Yeah, they could have done better.
And they definitely, in my opinion, have not worked toward getting people of color into the firearms industry or culture at all.
Exactly. Thank you so much for saying that.
They have freaking failed at that because that was never their fucking priority.
In my personal opinion, I believe that they not only have weak leadership that tends to FUD. Pardon me right there. That tends to FUD. For those who aren't in the 2A community, FUDing is basically they're giving more than an inch when we shouldn't even give an inch. Like, they're compromising too much.
Yeah.
Oh, get rid of bump stocks. Get rid of suppressors, which actually protect guys like us, our ears when we're squeezing that trigger to recreationally or even self-defense wise exercise our Second Amendment right.
One of the things about FUDs, the reason they call this FUD is Elmer Fudd from Bugs Bunny cartoons, right? All dude had was a shotgun. That's what these guys. I don't need a shot. Whatever I hunt with is good. So your bolt action rifle, your shotgun.
Compromisers who heavily believe in shotguns above anything else.
So now, my thing is this though. It's you take out your enemies one at a time, and then you're left standing alone, and then all of a sudden shotguns are bad. They have no imagination. Again, if you don't know your history, you will repeat it or will rhyme. They will work you to death. And see, a lot of things we don't do is pay attention to what happens in other countries. Australia was like us for a while. Then they had a mass shooting, and they convinced people that you shouldn't have certain guns, and a lot of people turned them in. Dudes in out in the country didn't, but in the cities they turned their firearms in, and it's got worse and worse to the point now you can't even have a lever action shotgun in freaking Australia, bro.
So much for those FUDs.
I'm just saying. That's so if you don't know the history, if you haven't looked around, all of a sudden you're like, hey, they slice it until you can't have that.
Exactly.
I'm like, so that can happen here. Quit being stupid. Quit allowing people to divide you. If you believe in the Second Amendment and you go, I believe in the Second Amendment, but shut up, because you don't. You just played yourself.
I'm glad that you mentioned that particular context of it. I believe in the Second Amendment, but because with me, I always get, again, how I always say, you talk about Second Amendment and all that, and people go into panic, and, you gotta trust the government, and the whole comes right out of them when I tell them what's so hard about taking self-responsibility and all that. You say I support the Second Amendment, but yeah, it gets rid of all your credibility. I refuse to compromise on anything because I don't want a threat coming against me or against anybody. Any innocent party, I want the innocent party. And Coleon Noir said this, by the way. Shout out Coleon Noir again. And Coach Greg Adams. Shout out Coach Greg Adams too. And for those watching, thank you for watching. Make sure y'all check out the Coach Greg Adams channel on YouTube. Intelligent, very informed, great show. Great guy and a heavy Second Amendment supporter too. Cool. He's cool with Coleon Noir, by the way. They have both said the same thing. Why would you want to give leverage to big government or any threat, any outside threat to come against you, the innocent party? Why you want to give them any leverage over you? You want to enjoy your life. How you said earlier, and many of us say, you want to get back home.
Yep.
To that house that you paid for. If you have your lady there, or for the ladies, if you have your mans back at the crib, etc., your family, one of your biggest things throughout the day is getting as much done to be able to go back to your home in peace and enjoy the fruits of your labor. Somebody asked about the lasagna. I'm actually gonna check in the lasagna. Give me a moment. I'm gonna throw an alley-oop to the OG right here so he can inform you about something while I go check on it. But yeah, so many people that are starting to speak up, and this is something else that I like what you said earlier. Now that we have the advanced technology at our disposal, we should be capitalizing it as much as possible. Calandro is crazy informed with current day legislation when it comes to the Second Amendment, along with other things. I've always been, a constitutionalist, so
Mhm.
along with Second Amendment, the unconstitutional war on drugs, thanks to the advancement of technology, I actually was reading today that a bunch of states are decriminalizing marijuana. People, we have the technology at our disposal now. It's all about how we use it. The same way your Second Amendment is fully granted to you, it is inalienable because it goes beyond the tool. It's about the concept of self defense and preserving your freedom, your happiness, your liberty, you being as well equipped as possible. We have the technology to inform ourselves now. Let's utilize it in that manner. Not, just going around watching. I don't want to wreck nobody or shit on nobody either because to each his own and all that. But the same way you're looking for entertainment and ratchet stuff to laugh at and all that.
TikTok.
Just get informed as well. Especially you got guys like Tony Simon, like Anthony Calandro, like Sean Fisher, like Colion Noir, like Coach Greg Adams, like Kevin Dixie, like Cheryl Todd for the ladies, like Gabby Franco for the ladies, like Colion Noir. So many of us doing the groundwork for you, and all you have to do is take at least an hour and just listen. And if you're anywhere within proximity where they're hosting events or whatever, take one time. Take a chance and just show up to an event, whether it's a diversity shoot, whether it's a formal convention in which they're speaking on certain topics.
Black Guns Matter.
Yeah.
Here's the thing.
Black Guns Matter 21 convention, so many things.
I hate politics. I despise political speak and all that jazz. I tried when I first got involved in this stuff in 2012.
Yeah.
I went and spoke. I've spoken multiple times in front of the Senate, in front of the Assembly.
Yeah, I like what you guys did back in 2019, by the way. I found out last minute, OG. I apologize. I tried my best, but
don't worry about it. We do it again.
I did make it to DC though.
Yeah, you did.
So I redeemed myself.
I went there to speak, and I actually spoke to these politicians one-on-one after I said my speech. And these pieces of crap were like, "We didn't know the history behind gun control. These were black legislators in Jersey. We didn't know about the history of gun control. You really taught us a lesson." Now, again, black history is American history. Never get it twisted. And I gave them the history of gun control and how it's based on racism.
Mm-hmm. Now,
those very same motherfuckers voted against our rights.
Wow, after you educated. Right after. That's like, he tells me, yo, Cash, be careful. There's a vase right here. I'm going to leave you in my house, whatever. I'll be back in 20 minutes. Just be careful, and especially don't knock this vase over because my wife or girlfriend or whatever, she has a very what's the word? Sentimental attachment to this vase. And the second he leaves, boom, I knock it down. That's what just occurred when he went and spoke to these politicians about their tyrannical conduct, trying to enact infringements against our rights. They just said, "Oh, okay, thank you for informing us, blah blah blah." That's blatant disrespect. That's literally taking a snowball.
I think it's on here. I think it's on Simon Says Train on YouTube.
Simon Says Train on YouTube, people. Make sure y'all check it out.
I actually thank you. The guy who filmed it passed away.
God bless.
Unfortunately. But he actually put it down. He videotaped it because it was my very first time speaking in public to legislators. Mm-hmm. And I was so nervous that I couldn't remember. I could not tell you what I said that day. 100%. I could not tell you what I said that day.
Yeah, and you see, I'm glad that you mentioned that part too, because we want people to know we're all human beings at the end of the day. This man right here has done plenty of events, and there'll be certain events where your nervous system kicks in. and you're like on the wall about, how you're gonna deliver and all that. But regardless of whatever, get informed and just start taking action. And you don't have to be full blown gun ho like he and
No.
I are, but start taking the minor steps and at least get the word out, because we're fighting for you too, leftists and far rights. We're libertarians, but we're fighting for everybody, including our own enemies, because the rights of the people should not be infringed upon, including our own enemies. If our enemies choose to try to conduct any acts of hostility against us, then we want to be well equipped to
That's
defend ourselves.
That's all. You have a right to disagree with me.
Yeah.
I'm cool with that.
Do you like ice cream?
Like ice cream.
I don't like ice cream, but you know what? We're still here.
I'm just saying. Look at me. Of course I like ice cream. My whole thing is this. Advocacy is very, very important. I vote. Your vote is worth exactly one person voting the opposite way you vote.
Yep.
You want to make a difference. Advocacy is the way to do it. Call that senator. Call that legislator. Go to that town hall meeting. Once you become an activist, understand your phone calls, your letters, your correspondence is more than just you. They have some formula. They figure out how many voters you represent depending on the act that you do.
Yeah.
So if you write a handwritten letter, they have like, oh, well, if one person wrote this letter, it probably speaks for about 7 people.
Mm-hmm.
But they have the math. If you send a fax, that's 3 people. I mean, I'm just pulling a number out.
Yeah, roughly.
But they've done the
Ballpark
math
estimates.
about how many people are interested in this thing because of the correspondence they have. So, yeah, picking up that phone, calling the senator. I have the governor's freaking number on speed dial on my phone.
Wow, that's the governor of New
New Jersey, yeah.
Okay.
I have the governor of New Jersey's phone number on speed dial on my phone.
Trust me, if I had Andrew Cuomo's number, current governor of New York, I'd be giving him hell on the daily. I've actually tagged him a few times in my Instagram, which is currently banned at the moment. They're finally letting me appeal. So for all of you wondering where I've been on Instagram, help out. Tag Instagram and let them know to stop the censorship against Cash First 456. Pardon me interrupting you, OG, but that's what we mean. Like, take the steps, take the actions,
Put in the work.
Yeah, put in the work, and you don't have to again go full blown how we do. But if one person came and helped us lift this table, providing minimal strength on their behalf, we'd lift it a lot quicker than just you and I, and a lot quicker than you or myself by ourselves.
Exactly.
1% of 100 people still equals 100% overall. That's what we need.
Put in the work. You are not too small as an individual if you put it. If you only wait around to, okay, a lot of us, I'm a Christian. If you only go to church on Christmas, bro. Hey, listen, I got you.
Yeah.
But you're supposed to be going to church more than just on Christmas. Same thing with voting. If you only vote during the presidential election, you have your local elections, you have your school board, you have all these people making decisions for you, and you've put no input in.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know you, they don't fear you, and truthfully, they don't respect you because you haven't earned it. But this is what happens if you get together and go, hey, I know 4 or 5 of my neighbors, 6 of my neighbors. We live on Smith Street. Let's call ourselves a Smith Street Syndicate and roll down to the next town hall meeting and see what the hell they talking about.
Mm-hmm. And that's how this nation began. You see it in the movie The Patriot as an example, because I don't want to go on a tangent. Along with many other movies, back then you had more community. And shout out Larry Sharp, by the way. This is a big message he always emphasizes on. You reduce big government and you start restoring big community. Big government convinced us. Don't talk to strangers. Be careful with your neighbors.
Yep.
If you see something, say something. It made a lot of us distrust each other, along with giving them more ammunition to infringe on us. And how you said, the lack of action. these people that run for a political office, even on the lower tiers, is not only presidency, but your local elections and your state elections. They're not going to respect you unless you go in mass and show them, hey, we want this. We want our Second Amendment fully embraced. We want transparency in the medical field and market, for the people that are ill and all that. Transparency when it comes to housing, what's going on, why is rent so expensive? We want to be able to engage in any recreational activity without being penalized, and we don't want the currents because things could always change. And you and I were on the phone the other day talking about how all it takes is a simple sign of the pen to change laws to make people criminals. We want to reduce the reasons that the current entity, police, law enforcement, which is actually supposed to be, again, the militias, not cops. Cops are created by statute, not constitution, with the exception of a sheriff with whom the people vote for. They pass these laws that if you don't let them know what you want and you're just here asleep, they're going to tread all over you. They're going to river dance all over your shit. And how you said, they're not going to respect you.
All politics are local. I am not the first person to say that. All politics are local. Don't get caught up. Who's going to be? Listen, the president deal, got you. It's up in the air. There's lots of controversy over it. Your politics are local. Your taxes are local. All that it is local. That's where they bend you over.
Yep.
Your state tax, your gas tax, your cigarette. A lot of that stuff is local. That's on the state level. You can affect that.
Mm-hmm.
They've tricked us into believing we can.
Well, you continue explaining that. Somebody else likes again. Let me just check on that lasagna real quick.
So, my whole thing is this. All politics are local. You have to affect change. Before 100 years ago, 150 years ago, it was about community. Even in slavery times, it was still about community. You helped each other out. They've convinced you to ignore your neighbor across the street if you don't know him, because the government will be there to help. The government will be there to help you out. And truth be told, the government's not there. You run out of gas on the side of the road, more than likely regular people will stop and ask to help you before the government does. When you have a problem, when they have break-ins in the neighborhood, it's your neighbor across the street that's keeping an eye out. When you need someone to freaking feed your dog or take your mail in because you're on vacation, it's your neighbor that will help you out. Yep. Do not believe in this government will take care of everything. I have been lucky enough to live around a lot of people. I moved to New Brunswick when I first moved up here. Mm-hmm. New Brunswick still had neighborhoods that had the old neighborhood people in them.
Yeah.
And
they had their eyes open and they're trying to figure out.
Well, when I'm talking to the old Italian sisters that live across the street, they're telling me about what the street used to be like. Mm-hmm. Oh, I knew that person. I knew that person.
Same thing like this, just like in the Bronx and Harlem, Brooklyn, Queens.
And they've been killing that.
Yeah.
They kill the idea of the neighborhood. They get all these different people. Now look, America.
Upstate New York, by the way, I ain't forget about y'all.
America's supposed to be a melting pot, but it's more like a salad. People live in there, they come in their house, they park in their driveway, and they run in their house. They don't talk to their neighbor.
Yeah, they don't.
Unless they find the time to talk to their neighbor. Unless everybody's willing to go that 60%, people too busy. Now again, being a locksmith. Hi, I'm locked out of my house. All right, where are you at? How do I find you? Oh, I'm in my neighbor's house. All right, cool. Now, this is a country ass boy. I understand, even though I don't have the accent, country.
Yeah.
I know everybody live around me. I can drive 45 minutes from my house, and within naming 3 names, we know who the hell each other are.
Yeah.
Here I am. Hi, Tony. Here to unlock your house. All right, yeah, I had a great time talking to the neighbors. You know, tonight's the first night I met them. Oh, really? Did they just move here? No. Did you just move here? No. I've lived here 20 years. I just never spoke to them.
Wow.
What?
Mm-hmm.
It's all over.
Yeah.
It's all over. That was done on purpose.
It was done on purpose. Thank you. Yes, continue elaborating on that.
That was done on purpose. If you think you're different, There's a difference between a salad and a melting pot.
Mm-hmm.
They want us to stay salads.
Yeah.
They want the Puerto Rican dude right here, the Asian dude right. You can live on the same street, but they
don't interact with each other. Don't trust each other whatsoever.
And we put ourselves in that with tribalism that comes from how the hell you were raised too.
Mm-hmm.
Understand, we all have more in common. If you wake up every day here and drive in this fucking traffic, you have a bunch of shit in common.
Mm-hmm.
All right?
I think restoring community will actually improve the traffic situation. People knowing who else is driving amongst them.
Think about it. Y'all go in the same direction, right?
Yeah, exactly. Going in the same direction.
Okay, y'all all work in fill in the blank. You can roll together. Why don't you? There's nothing wrong with loving your own people. I ain't saying that at all.
Yeah, you can have pride. They call that patriotism.
Bro, love your own people.
Or love thy neighbor as well.
Because if you don't, what they're going to use is that divisiveness to slide between you, and they're doing it. Yep. Somehow they're telling you Democrats and Republicans can't live together, and oh my God, you're a racist. And you assholes have used the racist word so much till it's lost all effect.
Mm-hmm.
Racist and Nazi, racist and Nazi. You've used it to the point that it means nothing, and you've killed it.
They've diluted it. Yeah, they killed it.
You've
beyond
diluted
it. They killed it. Yeah.
I'm like, there was real racism. Listen, you can have a different opinion. You can even have a misunderstanding of me. Doesn't make you a racist, might make you ignorant of some facts. Nothing's wrong with being ignorant. There's something wrong with being willfully ignorant.
Yeah, that's a choice, exactly. Especially in the age of information and technology.
Willful ignorance is inexcusable. Ignorance is understandable.
Yeah.
Doesn't make you a racist.
It doesn't.
Just you did not know.
Exactly. And you see, just to alley-oop off of that, that's what it is when it comes to these diversity shoots. I leverage off of you because you make the explanation simplified, directly to the point, start, finish. So when I bring people, all I say is, yo, hear him out. And when they see you and they see as one of us, again, nothing against white people, but it's just, we're just beginning. We're the pioneers of getting the bigger demographic in, with the exception of, the Asian community who held it down back during the Watts riots.
Oh, no, they held it down during the LA riots. LA riots, what's that asshole's name? Rodney King. Yeah. Those are Rodney King riots. Korean shopkeepers had to take care of their shit.
Mm-hmm. And the businesses didn't burn because they were well equipped to protect. Yeah.
They were strapped because Korea has mandatory military service. These dudes came to California in the 80s.
They knew what they were doing.
And they were able to buy firearms then, and they were able to protect themselves. Fast forward to what just happened in Philly. They've burned Korean shops down because Philly has all kinds of rules against being able to carry in Philly. Wow. So these Korean shopkeepers had no way to defend themselves.
And you see that right there, that you bring that up, there's always, again, the whole chicken effect that I get from people.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to people being armed within big cities, there's always such a fear. Yep, you're going to hear it in so many different directions. There's always such a gigantic fear, OG. Oh, because it's big cities, densely populated areas, with actually New York, New Jersey, this whole Hudson Valley is the most densely populated in the United States. That's the excuse that they use to keep us disarmed.
Yep. But, you live in a big city.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, well, one.
If you could debunk that, yes, go ahead.
Any city over 225 to 250,000 people going to have a higher crime rate than below. Now, they've done studies on it, and that's just something about human beings, regardless of what country it's in. So don't put that shit on, you got guns in America. No, regardless of what country it is. Once it passes that 250,000 mark, crime goes up exponentially.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what about guns and the bullet goes to your house and your neighbor's house?
Negligent discharges, yes. Negligent discharges. Go ahead, OG.
Firearms education is firearms education. Keep your finger off the trigger. Keep the gun pointed in a safe direction. Always treat the firearms like it's loaded. Know your target and what's beyond. all of that applies regardless of where it is. So if you won't have a negligent discharge while you're walking in the fucking woods, you're not going to have a negligent discharge if you apply the same rules while you're in your apartment complex. Now, will it affect what rounds you use or what kind of firearm you use? Well, yes, that's dictation. That's predicated upon if you want a very high-powered 30-06 as your home defense weapon, if you live in a very highly populated area, that's a mistake. But AR-15, that'll work fine. 9mm handgun, 45, all that stuff works fine. Don't miss. Don't miss.
Carbines?
Carbine's fine.
Just want to put that out there because, again, people, they get the chicken syndrome when they hear the words AR-15 and carbines.
Bro, here's the thing. Most people have very little firearms education.
Mm-hmm.
If you hear it from the government, if you hear it from Moms Demand, if you hear it from Every Town for Gun Safety, more than likely it's a lie or a half-truth, which is another word for lie, or something that's been carefully worded to sound as negative as possible.
Mm-hmm.
They have an agenda. My agenda is freedom.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
For both our friends,
Your choice.
family members, and enemies. So more than both, but just putting that out there.
My agenda is
I want to
your
leave
freedom.
Yeah, I want to leave zero space. Pardon me to interrupt.
Yeah.
I want to leave zero space of any type of questionability. Because you and I both know, being advocates.
Yeah.
Oh, but what about this? But what about that?
Everybody tries to catch you in the what if.
Yeah.
Freedom for all people, regardless of race, gender, sexual orientation, background, both politics and financial, or anything else, you should have your right to be able to defend yourself. You should not want to take that right from someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And you should really question anybody that continually comes up with a reason, including saying you're incompetent or you're unable to do it based on where you live.
Mm-hmm.
It's a damn lie. Doesn't even make sense. Because you tell me this. If we live in a city, you're living in an urban area, there's no reason for you to have such powerful guns. How come you stuck one in every cop car?
Yep.
How come they can have it?
Mm-hmm.
They live where I live.
And y'all out here complaining about what these cops is doing now, blasting away at guys like us, all willy-nilly.
But you allow the police to have it.
Uh-huh.
Your National Guard has it. They're going to go into the same city. That's where they're at right now.
Mm-hmm.
So somehow they're safe. Oh, well, they train. Bitch, you can train too.
Exactly.
Matter of fact, you should.
Yeah.
So.
And come to our diversity shoot.
Come to diversity shoot.
Real quick.
I'm bringing you to ranges that have trainers. I introduce you to some of our volunteers that may be trainers. Now, 100% the purpose of my dudes coming in to talk to you is not to take business from the range. Ever.
Mm-hmm.
My dudes volunteer there to help you learn about firearms in a safe, inclusive manner.
Non-discriminatory
At
environment.
all. Now, we want you to go to that range. We want you to visit that range. We want you to spend money at that range. We want you to bring your friends to that range. You can't make but you also met this dude that's a trainer, and then you met the dude in the next port that might be a trainer or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
We want you to build relationships with these people because you should train at the range.
Yeah.
Because they've helped us out. They've offered us this place to do this. Sure, spend some money there. But when you get training, you should get training from more than one dude. Don't fall in love with one friggin' trainer and stick with them because you like their teaching style. They can teach, and as a firearms trainer myself, I have the way I teach. That's why I love working with Sean, because Sean had the way he spoke. So between the two of us, if you missed an idea, a principle, or something I said because of the way I said it, and it flew right over you, Sean could say it another way, and it nails you right between the eyes, and vice versa. You should get training from multiple people. You don't buy the gun, stick it in the sock drawer, and go, I'm safe. Another thing you want to do is have community. This whole thing is about building a sense of community, your neighbors, your friends. If you still want to stick with your people, regardless of who the hell your people is, be it race, be it freaking sexuality, be it religion, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Your block.
You build that.
Yeah.
With the Second Amendment, when you find people that are like you, have a cornerstone to build on. Here's a cool thing about people that own firearms legally. They had to go through background checks. These are not criminals. These people have no felony charges or convictions, or if they did, they got expunged because they were decent human beings for a long period of time. Mm-hmm. These are not career criminals. So they also have an interest that's in common, and especially if they live in a state like New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, those places that you are villainized, then they're kind of on the outside. You know what I'm saying? So that's a whole clique in and of itself. Mm-hmm. What the hell did Hillary Clinton what did Hillary Clinton call Trump supporters?
Deplorable, smelly Walmart people.
Yes. Deplorables. And people love that name, deplorables, and they took it. But you're kind of like the deplorables. You're a bunch of people, and if you're way too into the Trump thing or have Trump derangement syndrome, get over it, dude. Because I'm just talking about people that are looked upon as being, oh, you're those people.
Yeah.
Well, there's a little bit of pride in being those people because I got cool guns, I got cool friends, we go shoot guns, and we're from different aspects of life. Mm-hmm. When you come to a diversity shoot, more than likely, you'll probably meet a doctor or two. You'll meet a computer program. You will meet people from
lawyers.
The brokest motherfucker at the diversity shoot is me, and I host it. I'm just letting you know that.
He's being modest.
The least educated, brokest dude in the room is the guy standing in the front with the T-shirt on that's extremely small. But it's lifestyles that you don't know about, people that you just assume.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Oh, you're a lawyer? Yeah. Multiple lawyers.
Yeah, multiple lawyers. They introduced me to U.S. Law Shield.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, and sadly, U.S. Law Shield. U.S. Law Shield is the only one that actually is good in Jersey. If you don't know, I'll use this term even though it's incorrect. It's a self-defense insurance. If you have to use a firearm in defense of your life, you call 911, you report what happened, and then you call them up, U.S. Law Shield, and they provide you with your lawyer. So when the cops show up, you have a script, you have a lawyer, you have legal representation on the phone, and you can actually have somebody talk to the cops for you and go, hey, I live here, he don't, he broke in, I had to defend myself, his gun's over there. I am not going to say anything else. This is my lawyer on the phone. I'm using my right to remain silent.
It's insurance, again, how the OG said, for your self-defense, the same way you insure your vehicle in case some shit happens.
Now, the good thing about it is this. They provide 24/7 24/7 lawyers, but they also...
24/7 lawyers, people.
They also answer your questions if you have some legal questions. Instead of going online and go, hey, what happens if... And you ask a bunch of people on Facebook and get all kinds of answers. Yeah. If you're a member of U.S. Law Shield, call them. You'll have legal representation tell you for that price of freaking your membership. You got a lawyer on tap.
There you go.
Why not use it?
Explaining it, thoroughly and all that, because that's what I want to use with this as well.
Oh, by the way, I have to say this, though.
Go ahead.
I just became a U.S. Law Shield rep. I haven't done anything with it. I don't have a code to give you or anything. This is something I want to set up to be able to have classes that you guys can come to learn lethal... I just went blank. To learn what deadly force law is in New Jersey.
Basically, lethal methods of lethal deadly force in which
they are. Yeah,
you use in order to defend yourself.
So what I'm going to do is set up classes. I don't know if I can do it every month, every other month. I want you to have this education because way too many people think they know what the law is, and you just know. You need to know. Now, again, when you take these classes, I think I get a percentage or something if someone signs up. My whole point of it is education. Well, see,
it's capitalism. Ain't no shame in getting a little compensation for
but my whole thing
participation.
I do it for fucking free, but they're willing to give me a piece of something if you buy it. Cool. But again, I don't even have the code. I ain't bother setting it up to get money. Yeah. But what I want to do is get you that education to put it on a table for you so you know it's there.
Yup.
We have so much information out there, but if you keep yourself in your clique, you won't know it. My mom has said it before. She was like, how come these white people, this is my mom who's in her 70s, and she said, why these white people...
It's her First Amendment.
Why these white people always know where to get the deals or where to get the hookups or where to... And I was like, because they talk and they go to meetings and they have things.
They network and participate.
If you aren't within the Second Amendment community, maybe, you don't know about self-defense insurance. So all of a sudden, something happens. You have to defend yourself, and you shoot a dude. But let's use just the firearms thing, and you shoot someone in defense of your home. If you listen to some of the wives' tales and you hear the gun, oh, well, you can't shoot someone in the back. No, under certain circumstances you can, because things happen quickly.
Yeah, you don't know if they're going to pick something up in which they just turn themselves.
Listen, between the time you said, hey, don't move, and dude pulls his gun, and you shot him. Okay. Oh, well, you better roll him over. No, the minute you touch somebody, that's a whole different crime when you messing with that. Yeah. My thing is this, you need to learn the law.
Yeah, exactly. What I tell people all the time.
You need to learn the law. And these dudes will pay for your lawyers. They will pay, they have a certain dollar amount, but they pay significantly, and then they support you in a civil suit. Yeah, because this dude can sue you civilly too.
Yeah, they get you somebody. I'm sorry to interrupt you, just to make it like easier.
No, definitely put it out there.
They make it. They do a lot of the groundwork for you. They provide you with somebody who is a solid performer in the field of law to defend your ass if you had to, take actions in response to a threat against your life or your family's lives or your property's stability and safety. So they're doing a lot of the work for you. What is it? I think it's like $15 a month.
It's not that expensive. Depends on the tier you get.
Yeah.
But I think for like full coverage, I don't know, gold, platinum, diamond, whatever. It was like the most expensive plan was like less than $300 a year or around.
Wow, divide that, calculate that, people. I know a lot of y'all watching right now. Don't worry, we're gonna get to that question right now. I'm gonna let him answer it while I go get the lasagna. But divide that, $300 a year.
Yeah,
you divide that shit into monthly costs is nothing. Cause let me tell you, I've been arrested before, and I had to pay my lawyer a few grand to save me. Imagine I would have been able to keep that money. This podcast would have been up a lot sooner, because a lot of y'all was saying, when you gonna start the podcast, Cash? Blah blah blah, shit like that. I'd have been involved in a lot of things a lot sooner had I not had that expense due to a situation that occurred in which unconstitutional laws were enforced against me. And you know what I had to do? I had to cover my ass. What U.S. Law Shield is providing you, and there's a few other entities as well, but a very popular one, which we, like a lot, is U.S. Law Shield. What they're doing is giving you an affordable cost to what? Cover your ass in case you got to defend yourself or your loved ones or your property from any type of threat. Somebody asked if you could briefly give details of Diversity Shoot that actually watching right now. It's the first time you see right here. What is Diversity Shoot? I'm gonna get the lasagna, but let them know cameras on you, OG.
All right. So the next Diversity Shoot, if you want to know when the actual date is, the next Diversity Shoot is Thursday, actually tomorrow, and the Heritage Guild in Easton, PA. You can purchase tickets on diversityshoot.com. It'll take you to the Eventbrite link. What the Diversity Shoot is about is introducing regular people who've never owned a firearm to real gun owners, legit gun owners, and Second Amendment advocates. That means Second Amendment rights groups that actually fight for your right to own a firearm or fight for your right to be able to carry concealed. We also have Hold My Guns there, and what they do, it's run by my friend Sarah. It's an organization that helps people that are going through, let's say, you're depressed, you have some issues going on in your home life, whether it's death in the family, jobless, whatever, you're down. You have some dark thoughts, and you think maybe what I need to do is get the firearms out of my house. Well, in New Jersey, you can't just call up a family member and go, hey, come to the house and pick up my guns. I don't feel like I need to have these in my house right now. It's illegal for you to for someone to go and pick your guns up and lock them up in their gun safe. So she comes up with an organization that they work with gun dealers, and you can take your guns to a gun shop, and the gun shop will hold your firearms. Because outside of that, the only other option you have in New Jersey is to turn your guns over to the local police and just not get them back. So we introduce you to people like that. We introduce you to your civil rights. Tomorrow we're going to have a rep from Smith & Wesson, which, if you don't know, is a large firearms manufacturer, probably one of the oldest in the country. They're coming down, and they're going to bring firearms with them that you can shoot and just introduce yourself to. Everything about guns isn't about self-defense. We also bring people in and talk about hunts for charity. We're going to have a competitive shooter come in December to our next diversity shoot, and she's a sponsored shooter, which people give her money to compete in competitions. So what we try to do is introduce you to different aspects of firearms ownership. I want you to at least understand, even if you're not into firearms, I want you to at least understand.
Here you go, G.
Nice. I want you to at least understand this is your right. It doesn't make you some kind of monster to own a gun. And the people that own firearms aren't monsters. There aren't these horrible baby-killing people who don't care about the children. It's a well-rounded group of people that care about your rights and will take the time out of their day to introduce you to it. And you don't have... My whole purpose of you coming to a diversity shoot is not for you to become a gun-owning Republican. All right.
Libertarians are way more, let me say that again, way more pro 2A than the Republicans.
Oh, believe me. But my point is, be whoever you are.
Yeah.
But understand this right. That's all. Understand it. Maybe practice it. And if you do practice it, I've introduced you to a bunch of people that can have you do it safely, that can teach you how to do it well. I just want to open a door for you, and you can choose to walk through it or just be aware it's there and walk through it at another date.
Exactly. And you see, along with, how you said, people come into
Smells
that
good, bro.
conversation. It smells good. Oh, we about to get the stamp of validation from another OG, Tony Simon. We got the authentic Italian stamp from Anthony Calandro.
True that.
But along with that, we're going to get more of the soul food side of it, which is more to the Hispanic and pure black side of it. Smelling like
Anthony lost a lot of weight, though, so, he might be sus. No, Anthony's a fat dude at heart.
But yeah, so we're about to get the stamp of validation on that. One other piece of rebuttal that I'm always getting is how you said again, how politics can be boring. We're trying to make it fun, entertaining, and easy to comprehend, understand, and absorb. I have a lot of friends and know a lot of people who want to be involved in like the music industry, the whole entertainment industry. A lot of these guys are always talking about guns and drugs. Right or wrong, all we are trying to do is inform them about safely using firearms and the actions that we should be taking, pardon me, to overturn the unlawful, unconstitutional, tyrannical infringement legislation currently active, which can be overturned. Like that, all these rappers and actors and all that, they don't get in trouble for engaging in whatever they choose to engage in.
Well, here's the thing, and
because I always get that. Yeah, thank you. Go ahead, let them know.
It pisses me off. Hip hop industry. Look, I love you. I mean, shit. I was there from the beginning. I'm old, bro. I was there at the very beginning. But you started talking about firearms even back then, almost a comic book level.
Mm-hmm.
And what that results in, and it's not just the hip hop industry. I mean, look, motherfuckers that watch John Wick and get all caught up in it, them too. But it's just this romanticizing the firearms with no clue about how to be safe with it, no clue about how to be responsible with it. Ain't nothing wrong with it, dog. But stop doing the comic book, freaking Call of Duty bullshit. Get the gun, calm down, learn to shoot it, learn to be safe, learn to be responsible. Some stuff is unavoidable. Accidental deaths, totally unavoidable.
Yeah.
Accidental shootings are totally avoidable by getting some training and learn to respect this tool. It's just all not a joke.
Yep.
And I'm cool. Rap about it all you fucking want. But tell people, calm down. Carry your ass to a range. A couple of people do that in Anthony, some rappers and stuff.
Yeah.
Come down to a range and show people where you can safely use this thing. Tell people, make it a cool ass thing to do. I don't know about you, but bowling was always fun, right? Mm-hmm. You get the freaking rental shoes, you got the music.
Yeah, and at first, you know, just to show people how things change. At first, I didn't like bowling for shit.
Yeah.
Now I like it a lot.
But my thing is, turn the gun range into the new bowling.
Yeah, exactly.
Make it a thing. Look, your girl gets dressed up. Y'all go eat something. You come down to the range, or come down to the range first, send some downs down, poke some holes and shit, get over your freaking week. Imagine your boss's face, whatever the hell you got to do to relieve that stress, and go out and have a day. But just make it part of your regular life, because it at one time in this country was part of regular life.
Yes, it was. Thank you for saying that. One time. This nation that you choose to live in right now, this nation that you're always talking about, I have a right to free speech, I have a right to privacy, you know, I have a right to a lawyer and shit like that. Yeah, you also have a fucking right to defend yourself. Your favorite rap artist, Lil Wayne, busted, gun charge. God bless him, we wish him nothing but the best. Why? Because unconstitutional infringement legislation that's currently active. Joel Santana,
T.I.,
another one. T.I., another one. So many of these guys are Tito el Bambino in Puerto Rico.
Well, here's the thing.
Gun charge.
They're never politically active.
Yeah.
Before anything happens, they fight this shit.
Yeah.
I don't want to get involved. My followers, bro.
You pull out while you fucking, or you wear a condom or whatever. You feel me? Safety precautions. Let's figure.
Rhonda Mary. You know Rhonda Mary?
Don't. Go ahead.
Rhonda Mary's an awesome ass sister. She's on Instagram. Rhonda Mary. She has a t-shirt called and says, "Entertainers are not leaders." Many of these rappers prove they're not leaders. They're just not. They will sit on their ass and be victims of the same laws we're trying to warn you about.
Again, up until now, a lot of these entertainers are not leaders. OG, continue, and thank you for saying that, because they hear it from me, and I've become cliche to a lot of people.
Yes, totally got it. Totally got it. Understand, these dudes are entertainers. We've attributed some shit to entertainers based on the fact they're trained fucking monkeys. I play the fucking organ, they dance. That's it.
Can't nobody say that is anything racist either.
Oh, please, get
you
out.
have a pure black, not a portionate black, because us Puerto Ricans carry black genetics as well. But, you know, you use the word monkey and they automatically, you racist, blah, 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 shit. So y'all hearing it?
You're offended over something because I said entertainer. I was thinking about Britney Spears. What are you thinking about? You think she's a monkey? Anyway, my whole thing is this.
I love it because we are leaving no hole unfilled.
They're entertainers. They are not leaders of your community. Mm-hmm. They sing. They're a minstrel show. Quit attributing something to them that ain't there. You know who is a leader? Someone that shows leadership qualities. Because you have a song that's a top 10 hit does not make you a leader. And I'm not saying I'm one. What I'm saying is these people aren't just because they can sing.
Yeah, because they're not taking the action in that direction, especially with the platform that they have, the networks that they have.
Many of them are controlled because of the platform they have is owned by someone else, and they're told what to say. And because, again,
controlled and owned.
Owned. Because, listen, I can't say I've been rich and I've been broke. I've been broke. Broke sucks. But I like to think that I own myself enough that if you give me a little money, I ain't willing to sell the fuck out. Because guess why? Broke sucks, but I'm used to that. And I still got my integrity.
Exactly.
Some of these people have sold out completely for money. And they will take you with them even though they will play the brother mode.
Yeah. And just to add to that, there's another alley-oop that you're providing me right here. And again, shout out Coach Greg Adams. Check him out on YouTube and Instagram, Coach Greg Adams. This is something that he said as well. You guys are so contained by these entertainers and all that. And you think because you have money inside the banking system and all that, that you're perfectly fine. You're perfectly comfortable with the current state of government, which continues to, bit by bit, infringe on your rights even more and assert higher levels of dominance and control over you. He said if shit hit the fan tomorrow, you know what would be one of the highest forms, if not the highest form of currency along with self-preservation, pardon me?
What's that?
The Second Amendment.
There you go.
So why are you not equipping yourself to defend yourself? You said it, Coach Greg Adams said it too. Just a few months ago, people were all comfortable going to lounges, clubs, knowing about the latest song, the latest fashion and all that. And the minute the news told you, hey, panic mode and all that, you tussling and fighting with people over toilet paper.
Did it. You did it. You played yourself. Here's my girl, Rhonda Mary. That's her. I met her out in Vegas during a SHOT Show.
Is this the lady from Connecticut?
No.
Oh, okay, because I saw one from Connecticut actually yesterday who was going in depth when it comes to carbines and all that. But I'm going to add her right now. Rhonda. Shout out Rhonda Mary, by the way. Check her out on YouTube.
She's on YouTube.
YouTube and Instagram, Rhonda Mary.
Good people. Real smart girl, Mississippi. Love her accent.
Yeah, them southern girls, man.
Right.
No discrimination to our northern chicks up here, but the same way y'all northern females be saying y'all like that southern and midwest and all that. Hey, vice versa. Y'all want to talk about equality? We, let us exercise our equality as well.
She drops truth bombs all the time.
Just added her, by the way.
Support somebody like that. My whole problem is this: they've trained you not to think. They've trained you to depend on them for your opinion. They will give you your opinion. If you don't believe me, what was that bullshit with 50 Cent? And what was that whore's name? Chelsea Handler.
She told him to stay in his place.
You cannot vote for Trump because you're black. I had to remind 50 he was black. How comfortable do these people have to be with keeping you in your place that they can say that on national television?
Exactly.
That's what happens when you get that money. To the point of you're that uber rich, but somebody can take it away from you. And all of a sudden he goes, well, I guess I'm voting for Biden then. Like, he's just, I'm like, yo, bro, dog. I freaking blasted that broad. I blasted her on my show. I mean, my last podcast, the 2A4E podcast, I named it Super Woke. Because this is some of these super woke liberals that think they're to the point that they can tell you who to vote for. You out your damn mind. I got this. I've been black a long time. Didn't come with a manual, but I figured this shit out. And what I figured out is I don't need anybody, but especially white liberal women, telling me who I can vote for because I'm black. That's some of the most racist shit I've ever heard.
Exactly. And just, again, to alley-oop off of that, our people always talking about racism, how we should have equality. Again, not being victims of the state because all police do, well, not all, but a huge chunk of it is brutalize the shit out of us.
I'm done with this, dude. We doing this before it get cold.
Oh yeah. So before I continue, let's get the stamp of approval from the OG himself.
I'm watching lasagna get cold. My inner fat dude is like, I'm disappointed in you, son.
So let me know. Go ahead. You could be honest. You know it's here, people.
This is good, bro. You got the vegetable texture.
Yes!
You got the cheese ratio quite right.
Thank you, thank you.
I wanted to cool it off so I could taste everything.
Nah, of course, because
if
it
it's
was
too
fresh
hot.
out the oven. That's freshly made, right out the oven. You saw me put the motherfucker in the oven and all that. You know, and that's what it is when it comes to the United States and all that. All we want to do is make the United States an amazing. Is it amazing? Would you consider it amazing? Thank you. Thank you.
This is some really good
Thank
stuff.
you. All we want to do is make the United States the equivalent of an amazing lasagna. It is layered, the structures, the laws, and all that, you know, is layered in a way that is going to satisfy the people, just like biting into an amazing tasting lasagna. It's going to make you happy. You're going to be happy to be here. You're going to be enthusiastic about getting out and being a productive citizen, enjoying yourself daily, procreating as well. Like that civilization continues because you and I both got here because our parents procreated and created our asses. You know, that's what we want to do. And again, it's the foundation of this nation, the United States Constitution. Y'all always talking about we got to combat racism. We need equality. We're constantly being attacked. What's the best way to defend yourself from a motherfucking oppressor, a hostile party or individual?
The most effective means to do it at that time is, of course, a firearm. But the most effective means of stopping it from happening is being politically active.
Thank you.
The laws get passed because of the system that we have in place. Don't tell me how racist the system is if you refuse to be a part of making the change.
Yeah, I heard it from the pure black man himself.
Oh, my vote doesn't count. Again, your vote does count, but it only counts as much as the person that votes against you. Become politically active or shut the fuck up.
Thank you, OG, because again, you know, there's always this damn fear effect crap. You hear it from these people all the time. They come around, and the minute you tell them something that is going to empower them even more outside of identity politics, when in all actuality, the Second Amendment is part of identity politics, this is what we get. What the hell are y'all so scared of? We're trying to equip ya and inform ya about the best methods possible to be able to defend yourselves against tyranny, people.
Oh,
Rock
shit,
with
that's
us.
another level. That was like regatta right there. Yo, dude.
I did it up.
Man, I know how to stack this.
Yes. And feel
yes.
free to take some home. We have a whole tray full, you know what I
Now,
mean?
my problem is this, and you're right. Once you tell them there's work involved, they want to walk away.
Yeah.
Because it's easier to complain and play the victim and have sympathy. And I'm like, yo, bro, I don't need sympathy.
Yeah.
I need my efforts to get out of my way.
Yeah.
So I can advance.
Exactly.
And the way you make them get out of your way is to participate in the process and not need them.
Thank you.
They've played us into thinking we need government. No, I don't. I need government to get the hell out of my damn way.
Yep.
You're holding us back.
That's something that Joe Jorgensen, our previous presidential candidate, who was also shafted in all this election fraud occurring, she put a heavy emphasis on as well. This government has to get out of the way. All it does is reduce free trade, reduce the individual's liberties, and above all, reduce the individual's safety. And what is the biggest minority known to planet Earth?
The individual.
The individual. Thank you. Because I'm just tired of it, you know? People always talking about, oh yeah, you got to put in work, Well, you got to put in your work for your rights as well. How long till they start telling you what you can't say? Even though right now, we already have limitations on what you can and can't say. How much more compromising are you going to allow to occur?
Well, what's happening right now is you're telling you how you can and can't think. And that's your problem.
They just compromise you from toilet paper.
Bruh.
They want you walking around.
Did you see the new shit?
Go ahead.
The Biden? Oh, the college thing that they want to pay for college? I don't need you to pay for my college, man. I can pay for my own college. What you did was keep pushing this false narrative from the 70s that you needed a college education regardless of what that education was in. Then you made it so expensive that people went into debt to get a college education that after getting a 4-year degree, it would only be worth the entry-level position anyway.
Yeah, so you got a heavy burden along with a financial obstacle
So
which
now-
you added to yourself via the government's indoctrinational method that you complied with.
And the government changes so you can't even go bankrupt on that loan. You gotta pay it.
Holy shit. And this is the guy that a lot of people chose to vote for, and a lot of these celebrities was telling you to vote for. The same celebrities that could hire armed security. The same celebrities that could send somebody else to buy the work for them. Like that, they don't gotta get busted for it. While guys like us are trying to tell you, let's take the actions to change these laws. Because right or wrong, the same way laws could be changed in the direction of tyranny, they could also be re-changed back in the direction of liberty. Right or wrong, OG?
Mm-hmm. See, I don't like labels. Because once you put a label, you stick someone in a category. What political party am I? You don't really know. You've heard me say a bunch of stuff, and it's all over the place. Because I'm a Second Amendment advocate.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking for. When we go to diverse issues, that's all I talk about.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about abortion? I think you should shut the fuck up and get out of my meeting. That's what I think you should think about abortion. You don't need that. What they try to continually do is to get us to split apart.
Mm-hmm.
My thing is freedom.
Mm-hmm.
You should have freedom, but you should also have the ability to fight for that freedom with an efficient and effective tool, and a firearm is it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't fall for the okie doke when they're telling you some crap like weapon of war and you don't need this.
Oh, yes, elaborate on that, please.
How's this? Because it's funny because when you know some stuff, I know a little bit of stuff.
Yeah.
I want to go all over the place and just pile on information
Mm-hmm.
about what a weapon of war is. And the fact that when the Second Amendment was written, every fucking gun you had was a weapon of war.
Yep, it was military style, and also wasn't it like the law back then that
It was something in some states and some cities. It was a law required a man to show up and carry a gun to church.
Yep.
To have a gun in the state of Virginia, it was the law that if you went to church, you need to carry a gun. Why? Because that's when Native Americans and bandits and whatever attacked when they thought people would be unarmed in church, and you had your whole family there.
Mm-hmm.
And back in the day, either they kill all of them or they would hold them hostage.
Mm-hmm.
My whole thing is this: there's a lot out there. I have to diffuse it, especially doing the diverse issue of how much knowledge to give and balance it off with keeping it fun, and understand that some people just walked in the door for the first time and they're not ready to drink from that hose yet,
Mm-hmm.
but they want to catch some of it.
Yeah.
Terms like weapon of war bullshit. This is what the real freedom was back in the day.
Pay attention, people. I see the viewers up in here. Pay attention, people.
Any firearm back in the day, a man, if he had enough money, could buy a warship with cannon and crew, and it was 100% legal for a regular citizen to do that. And they'd give you a writ of marquee to go hunt British. All right?
Wow, I did not know that.
Or hunt down
You learn
pirates.
something new every day.
That was a job. You could go, look, let's get together, scrape some money together, put together a fucking crew, and let's go kick some ass. And that was 100% legal.
Was that the Boogaloo? that time period?
that was the boogaloo of that time. It was like, let's get busy. Now, when the British marched on Concord, what they were doing was going to get gunpowder that civilians owned.
Concord, by the way, for those who don't know, is an area in Massachusetts, correct? Right outside of Boston?
Yeah, it was the shot heard around the world, the start of the revolution, that whole thing. That's what got a lot of that shit started.
Mm-hmm.
Well, towns owned the cannon. The government didn't own the cannon. That was the biggest weapon out there on the field during those days. You, me, some boys would chip together, get the club down, and we like, hey, let's all chip in, buy this cannon for the town. So if the town's attacked, we got a cannon. We put some money in, we get some gunpowder. Everybody got a rifle, and we practice on, come
Yeah.
out and practice.
Yeah.
That was the militia. It was not the government. It was not the National Guard, and it damn sure wasn't the police. It was people like you, that went, we need to be able to protect ourselves from. Understand, it was just not Indians they were killing. And it wasn't redcoats they were shooting at the time. It was bandits. It was any threat to the town or their livelihood. Any threat, including bear or anything else, but you got to be strapped.
Yeah.
So they would practice that shit with their guns that they bought with their own money. Well, now you got dudes between, I think it was, what the frick was the age of the militia? I think it was like teens to late 40s. Anyway, it was that entire age group, and they expected you to be efficient and well armed. What is it? What was it? A well armed militia?
Well regulated. Meaning
regulated.
A well disciplined and trained militia.
Regulated as in also their weapons were usable, clean, and ready to go.
Yes, not regulated in the sense that the government had any type of oversight authority against them. No.
The sad part is our weak history has tried to convince you that was the National Guard. No, that's not. It was, again, the ability to stand up to the government.
And it's in the movie, again, The Patriot. I love referencing that movie because it came out back in 1999.
Never saw it.
Great movie. I highly suggest you watch it. They show how, again, community meetings or city meetings, the whole, like, how the assembly would occur, where they would engage, talk to each other, and converse any issues occurring, anything we need to come together and vote on. Is everybody safe? Is anybody being harassed? Whatever. They also emphasize on the militias. And the Redcoats, which was like the predominant enemy in that movie, they said, hey, we're losing battles against these non-regular guys. These guys are militias. They're not regulars. And how could that be? These are militiamen. These are farmers with pitchforks. These are guys who go work on the town. These are guys who chop down wood. These are not regulars. Regulars during that time period meant registered military personnel.
Professional military guys, that was their job.
Yeah.
And what the American militia was made of was guys that actually signed up maybe to fight for a year. And that was it.
Guys from around the block, pretty much, putting it in modern day terms.
And they wrote their X and they were like, all right, I'm down for a year of fighting.
Exactly.
And they went, and that was one of the problems with George Washington Valley Forge. A lot of dudes, the reason he made the attack across the freaking river and into Trenton Christmas, it's because a lot of those dudes' contracts were up at the beginning of the year.
Oh shit, I ain't know that shit.
It was, what's the name of this? Appleseed is a shooting. It's not really a competition. It's an educational thing that happens in many states. I don't know if they're doing it now. Project Appleseed. It's very important. Look it up. Check it out. And what it is a group of volunteers that teach you American history, starting back in that time frame. They teach you American history, but it's at the range. And you shoot 22s and you try to pass some of the... They teach you basic positional rifle shooting, as in standing, sitting, and kneeling, and prone. They teach you those position old school rifle shooting with a 22. And teach you American history from that time period. How the country was founded, why, and how the rifle helped. And that's one of those things that is awesome. It's a family thing. You learn American history. And it's so concise. And I always wanted to do it. Sean and I were always talking about going. But then we started doing Second is for Everyone. We started hosting the Minuteman Challenge. We started doing our own thing. Plus, Sean sells accessories and everything else.
Yeah, a lot of merchandise again. Black Bag Resources on Instagram. Yeah, blackbagresources.com as well. Shout out Sean Fisher again. Much love for you. Hope to get you on the show soon.
So we couldn't do everything. I mean, it's just ran out of time. But getting educated on the early part, also learning that firearms can be fun, can also be a legacy thing that you need to pass on to your children. Understand, we're one generation away from losing our civil rights.
Yup.
Never ever think it's something that can never happen. One generation.
Thank you. Don't ever think that it can never happen. The same way nobody gets in their car every day and is thinking, hey, a car accident will never happen to me. Nobody ever thinks walking outside in the street, hey, a robbery, I'll never get stuck up. Shit like that. And it's just like, yeah, you don't think like that because you know that there's a small possibility. So you want to be as prepared as possible, you know?
If you've never touched a gun because your dad didn't have guns in the house, and now you listen to us and you're going, well, what's the big deal? I've never had a gun. My dad never had a gun. So if they take your right away to own a firearm, you think it doesn't affect you. Thereby, in one generation, they made it go bye-bye and it didn't even bother you because you didn't know it was an option.
Yep.
My whole thing is this. The government has proven over and over, and you can't go back 10 years without pulling out a huge newspaper story about the government infringing the fuck out of somebody.
Yep, infringing the fuck out of you.
I'm telling you, you can't go 10 years back without finding it. and people go, well, it couldn't happen today. And I'm like, do you just pay attention to the latest news? So you don't remember Bundy Ranch? You know what I mean?
2014, 2015.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Bundy Ranch. And they
Check
came
it out,
to
by the way, people. Bundy Ranch. Look it up on YouTube.
regular people stood up, came out from all across America, effing strapped, and got between the Bureau of Land Management and this dude. Now you can go, well, Bundy owed money to the government. Bundy owed money to the government for 20 damn years, and they took it and just 20 years later going to throw him off.
There was an agenda behind that.
Exactly. So my whole thing was that was 10 years ago. You can go further back. And I'm going to confuse the dates because I'm old. I've been there, done that, and seen it. You got Waco. You got Ruby Ridge. You got all those times that the government stepped way over. You got the move bombing in Philly that they just apologized for last week.
Yup. Wow. By the way, and those of you who don't know, watching it now, look it up. The Philadelphia City bombing. They bombed a certain section of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Yep.
All because, what was it again? Because
okay.
It's so many things. But
There was a black militant group called Move. And they were in Philly, and they were a bunch of assholes. Let's not even play it off. They were rude to their neighbors. They were loud. They played their music. But, you know, they were also, the guy who ran it had a criminal record. And the people were complaining in the neighborhood about them, and the police wanted to shut them down, and they'd had shootouts with them before and confrontations with them before. Well, Move had bought a place, stopped paying rent supposedly, if you're going to believe everything. All right, they weren't nice people, but they bunkered up their place. So when the police rolled in to get at them, they got right back at them. Well, thousands of rounds were fired between the Philly PD, and finally the mayor was like, burn them out. And they got a police helicopter and firebombed the place with one bomb and burned over 200 houses down to the ground in that neighborhood, burned the entire neighborhood out. And they just apologized for it this week. Now, people want to argue with you because, well, they were assholes. Hey, bro.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to tell you to elaborate on.
But they were still Americans, and the 200 households that you burned down, they didn't do a damn thing.
Yeah, because
so
innocent casualties were involved as well.
So all those people lost their home. They were taken out of their home because of this shootout where the police were totally ineffective. Oh, and by the way, stop buying this lie. The police are outgunned by the criminals in the street. That's a damn lie. Police aren't outgunned by the criminal in the street since what? AR-15s are only used in a very small, as in single-digit number of crimes, like long guns in general, and deaths. It's like single digits, like 2-3% of
Mm-hmm.
firearms deaths or AR-15 or any rifle or shotgun is all packed in that number. So to say the police are outnumbered is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Police don't face dudes with rifles every day. If it does, you'll see it on the effing news. No, they deal with dudes with knives and guns, handguns for
Yeah.
the most part.
And allegedly, correct me if I'm mistaken, wasn't the largest mass shooting in United States history executed upon with a handgun?
Depends on what you're talking about, but most mass shootings were taken with handguns. Virginia Tech, all handgun. Handguns were, by the way, restricted magazine capacity. Jersey actually had one of the first mass shootings in the 60s and did it with a revolver.
Wow.
So, yeah, don't buy into what they're trying to sell you. Historically speaking, AR-15 had very little to do with anything, and your cops are running around with AR-15s in the trunk of most of their cars.
The same cops that we all complain about, myself included. I am not pro cop. I can acknowledge there are good individual cops, but the entity needs either reform or abolishment because it's an unconstitutional entity with the exception of a sheriff by whom the people vote for. So that right there is basically telling you stop being scared of shit. We got about 5 minutes left, OG.
All right.
I just want to hit some bullet points and all. And you're enjoying the lasagna, by the way.
Oh, I'm loving the lasagna.
Yes. Thank you.
I was about to eat some more of it, but you told me you got 5 minutes, so I can wait.
Ain't nothing getting like the stamp of validation on the lasagna. So just hitting quick bullet points. Origins of gun control.
First gun control law was written in the colony of Virginia in 1620. Outlawing it for blacks to actually own guns because the first slaves showed up in 1619, and they damn sure didn't want to have slaves be able to revolt with firearms.
Thank you. Yep, so gun control is full-blown since its inception, racist, correct?
Yep.
Thank you.
Built on the foundation of racism.
Why do we need AR-15s that have a range of up to 300 yards to defend ourselves?
One.
That's something I hear about from law enforcement.
Oh, I love that one. How's this? I need every damn gun I can get my hand on to defend myself, because I'm not only defending myself against theft, I'm defending myself against what could possibly be a tyrannical government, and I want to be able to fight them with the most efficient, effective tools possible. I'm fat, I'm old, and I'm never hoping for that to happen. That's why I'm asking for people to be activists and take part in the political process. I love my country. I love my first world problems. You know what I'm saying? So, no, I don't want this place to just degenerate into anything, but we have to fight for our freedoms, and to fight for freedom, there have to be a consequence for them to take it away. And that means you have to back your words up by steel. You have to have a consequence. These people didn't free slaves. They didn't give women the right to vote. They didn't do any of this shit because they're nice people. There were always consequences, and the consequence was always the Second Amendment and a removal of tyrannical government by force if necessary. These people aren't wonderful. They're still the same type of assholes that were there in the 1775, willing to give you taxation without representation. It has not changed. No one's different. Human nature is still the same. That's why the Second Amendment is needed. That's why you need the most efficient, effective weapons, the same ones that your government has. You need. Now, for the people that say, are you going to fight a tank with an AR-15? At this point, I think you're willfully ignorant because you've ignored the fact that there are no giant tank battles in Iraq or Afghanistan. It's guerrilla warfare. Same thing that'll be here. There were they weren't a bunch of gigantic tank battles in Vietnam. It was dudes armed with the same type of weapons that the soldiers had. AR-15, well, they had M16s.
M16 is like a cousin to the AR-15.
AR-15 is the actual military version of an AR-15, fully automatic. But my whole thing is, they were going up against North Vietnamese army dudes with AK-47s, and Viet Cong with SKSs, which is a semi-automatic 10-shot 7.62 by 39 rifle.
Mm-hmm.
They fought for 10 years before they kicked America the fuck out of Nam.
And yeah, exactly. They kicked the United States the fuck out. We lost on record against a nation of citizens that was well equipped, but not as well equipped as us. But what did they do? They got tactical. They used guerrilla warfare tactics.
So don't think just because we don't have tanks. Oh, and by the way, you can buy a tank as a civilian. You just have to have the big ass gun deactivated. But you can buy a tank. You can buy a fighter plane. You can buy a helicopter. So the ignorance of people telling me what I can and can't buy when I know it because this is my, I don't know, job. I know what I'm talking about. They don't. You need weapons. You need firearms because that's how the government was built. That's the threat to keep them on the straight and narrow. Don't think they did what they did to Native Americans. Don't think they did to blacks. Don't think they did what they did to Hawaiians is something that's just in the friggin' past. They will continue to do it to people.
Exactly.
They have done it. They will continue to do it.
Somebody steals from your home. Are you gonna let them back in your home?
Exactly.
So why you know these people keep giving the leeway, all this leverage and blind trust? It has to stop.
The very same people that continually tell me that I don't need a firearm, some of the same political party, the left, the Democrats, say you don't need a firearm, are the same ones that's saying because of the new Supreme Court justice, they're going to reverse Roe v. Wade. Because of the new Supreme Court justice, they're going to take the rights away from LGBTQ people. How are you going to tell me at the same time the government's going to take rights away from you, but you shouldn't have the way to fight the government if they come to take your rights away?
Thank you, because my goodness, all of the nonsense I deal with on the daily, and you've seen it firsthand, people questioning our loyalty to our people when we're trying to go out of our way to equip our people and inform our people and educate our people as much as possible. Be in the front line, putting our faces out there, putting ourselves in harm's way, putting the targets on our backs and all that.
You have to, as Maz says, expose the contradiction.
Yes.
How do you have
Shout
both?
out Maz, yeah.
How do you have the cognitive dissonance to sit there and go, they're going to take your rights away. You shouldn't have the ability to physically fight for your rights.
Somebody's going to go steal from your house, and you shouldn't have the ability to prevent the theft from occurring.
Let me tell you something, Karen. A strongly worded letter to the manager isn't going to get you your rights back. The strongly worded letter to your legislator, the call to your legislator, showing the F up at the town hall meeting, testifying in front of the Senate or Assembly, these are all things that are very powerful that as an individual citizen you can use to exercise your right well before you have to pick up a firearm. But understand, that last fucking step, that last right, is the second right that protects all the other rights. The ability to put foot in the ass needs to be there. Those deeds, your political activism still needs to be backed up with the ability to resist the government armed conflict.
Thank you. And it corresponds into parenting. You discipline your children. You got to know that there's consequences for any type of negative actions, executed upon. What is the greatest, arguably one of the greatest equalizers for women who are constantly walking around with this whole type of thought process in their head? No disrespect to them, but they're all walking around.
Here's the ultimate ability to defend yourself effectively and efficiently against all comers is a firearm. Again, it is not the only answer. Please listen to me because people love to leave that part off.
Yeah, they love to leave it off or try to misconstrue what you said, twist your words.
Being aware, keeping the head on the swivel, not putting yourself in bad situations, being able to de-escalate and talk your way out, use verbal judo, to have non-lethal, like sprays, like even impact weapons, if you can have them where you live. but still have the ability to shut that motherfucker down.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of how he walks the earth on 2 legs or 4 legs, you need to be able to have the ability to efficiently and effectively shut down a physical threat. And a firearm is one of the ways.
Thank you, because we always hear these feminists coming out here talking about they want to be safe and all that. And when you mention the 282 them, they...
Oh, I listened to some lady tell me the silliest crap. You need to learn karate. And I was like, you do. You should learn self-defense.
Yeah, of course.
You should learn unarmed self-defense.
Of course.
It's great. It raises your confidence level. It does all that. But understand that before you get proficient with it, it takes years. So until those years are up, come by, pick up a gun, and I'll train you how to use it. Man, did she get mad.
Exactly. You never know. Somebody has a disease and they just cough on you. Right now, we're all shook because of this whole thing going on, whatever. You don't want to let nobody come get into your personal space and jeopardize your life either immediately or in the long term. They could sneeze on you and then you absorb something and all that. And you could, prevent that from happening.
Again, always get training from other people. They say things in a different way. James Yeager, who's a trainer, owns an organization called Tactical Response.
Shout out James Yeager.
In Camden, Tennessee. My boy KD, Kevin Dixie, actually instructed some of his classes. James is a cool dude, and he said, look at someone that breaks into your house as a virus.
Mm-hmm.
You want that virus as far away from you as possible. You don't want to hold on to it. You don't want it close. You want it away. So yes, a firearm is a distant weapon, distance weapon.
Yep.
It keeps them off of you. That's what you want. You don't want someone my size, even though I'm old and crickety. I'm bigger and stronger than a lot of people. And I'm just not savage. You know what I'm saying? I'm just not out to hurt people.
But
there are people that just wants to see the world burn. They want to cause pain and inflict harm upon others as entertainment, and they have no empathy. They don't wear T-shirts that says, I'm that motherfucker when they break into your house.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to be able to defend yourself against that type of human being. Most people will see your home. Yeah. Most people will see you home and not break in. Then you got the dudes that'll break in and they try to figure out whether you're going to use that gun on them or not. And it's how you hold yourself and carry yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's that dude that goes, they just pulled a gun on me. I'm going to take that motherfucker from you and I'm going to feed it to you. Yep. And that's the person you have to kill.
Thank you.
Again, they don't have a T-shirt that says which one they are.
And ironically enough, it was Joe Jorgensen who also pretty much said a lot of your words in her own words as well. The break-ins within the United States occur statistically during the daytime when they believe nobody's in the household, in comparison to nations that have heavy self-defense restrictions against their citizens that occur at any given time because they know more than likely the numbers show that people are unarmed in contrast to the United States where a huge portion of the nation is armed. Boom, right there. She brought that up. A woman brought that up. All you feminists out there, we respect where y'all coming from, but comprehend we're trying to empower y'all as much as possible. Last two things before we wrap up, OG. Do we compromise on the Second Amendment?
No.
Thank you.
Just no. But what about no? No.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what about if they're felon? No. Why? Because if you have released them from jail, from prison, and you say they have all of their rights, then give them all of their rights.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my opinion. What about this gun? What about that gun? Answer is no. Never compromise on the Second Amendment. Can I give a short history?
Of course.
1920.
Go ahead.
1920. You could open a Sears catalog and order a fully automatic belt-fed machine gun directly from the Sears catalog, shipped to your front door, along with all the ammo for it. We've compromised to the fact that now, in New Jersey and New York, you have 10-round magazines, and they tell you the features you can have on your semi-automatic rifle. And to get it, you have to order it through a federal firearms license dealer after getting permission from the state with a firearms ID card and maybe a pistol purchase permit. So we've compromised from getting a belt fed dropped off at your front door to begging for permission for a revolver.
Now, ain't that some shit? And it's usually the revolvers that people advocate for the most. Pretty soon, if we allow this to continue, which he and I definitely won't, but we need others as well, how long till all you have left is a revolver and they're already planning in their head, how do we take those away?
Yep.
Completely strip you. History, we mentioned this earlier, but just to put the stamp on it, because a few more people just jumped on right now, and you guys that just jumped in right now, thank you. You'll be able to catch the rerun. This is going directly up towards YouTube once we exit out and all that. But what was it I was gonna say? What was it
History? You talk about
yeah. Does history repeat itself? Yes or no?
History, if it doesn't repeat, it definitely rhymes.
There you go. And there's always a precaution. You always either have a precaution against somebody who stole from your home or completely banished them from your household whatsoever. The best equalizer is the Second Amendment that is going to protect, the rights of the biggest minority on the planet, which is the individual. Ensure your safety, male or female. And along with that, hold the government accountable to preserving, protecting, and honoring your constitutional rights as written when the inception of this nation originally occurred.
One thing. Every time the government fails to keep you safe, they tell you the way they can prevent it from happening again is for you to give up some of your rights.
Mm-hmm.
Every time the government failed to stop the first mass shooting, the government failed to stop the last mass shooting.
Yep.
And the government will fail to stop the next mass shooting. But their answer for them all was for you to give up your Second Amendment rights and have them infringed upon in some way.
Yep.
It's a lie. They can't stop it because they keep using the word mass shooting, and all that is murder. And they can't stop murder.
Mm-hmm.
So don't believe them.
Exactly. And lastly right here, I just had it right before we wrap up. First responders. Average response time on a first responder?
Depends on where you at. 12 minutes. I had New Brunswick PD take 6 hours to come out to my place during a break-in. Depends if you live out in the country, because understand, everybody doesn't live in the same predicament you do if you're urban or a suburbanite. Where I'm from in the country, look, dude, we didn't even bother calling the cops because it's just not worth it. They might come out the next day. You handle shit on your own.
Mm-hmm.
Stop relying on the same people you say support and enforce systemic racism.
Yep.
Just stop.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be able to handle yours.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm saying is, you need to have the ability to stop evil from perpetrating it upon yourself, your personal self. And you need to use the system that's in place to stop it.
Mm-hmm.
And you also need to change the system that's in place to stop it from infringing upon your ability to protect yourself against evil. It's cyclical. All right, let's end this show because I want to eat some freaking lasagna. And this has gotten cold.
Yeah, so, real quick before we wrap up, I just want to give a shout out to the whole 2A community. There's so many people to name. Anthony Calandro, Tony Simon, Sean Fisher, Maj Toure, Kevin Dixie, Gabby Franco, Cheryl Todd,
Jesus, dude, don't even look at me.
Leon Noir, Coach Greg Adams. Again, shout out Drink Champs, Sunny D, Nori, somebody I grew up listening to, DJ EFN,
1 million moms against gun control. Rebecca Schmoy. Oh, this is actually a legit group. And these are moms that were like, nah, we want to push back against moms against action. So it's 1 million moms against gun control. Freaking awesome group of ladies. DC Project, which is one woman from every state that goes to Washington, D.C. and speaks to the legislature every year. Mm-hmm. And these are women from across the country. Black, white, Asian, whatever. These are just females that are female and want people to see that there are firearms owning responsible females, like Miss Rhonda Zell out of Chicago, who owns one of the only, I think the only gun store in Chicago.
Wow.
She sued McDonald versus Chicago. I met that family. He passed away, but he sued, and that's a black man. Sued for the right to own firearms in the city of Chicago.
Yep.
There's a fight going on out there that's a cultural fight that they don't want you to participate in. They want you to remain ignorant of, or just to think it's old white dudes that love their guns more than they love children, or whatever bullcrap they put out there. They do it intentionally to keep you ignorant.
Mm-hmm. Shout out Skip Tactical.
Skip, yes.
Much love for Skip. We haven't spoken in a minute, but shout out to you too. What is it?
Latinos Locked and Loaded.
Latinos Locked and Loaded. Puerto Rican Pistolero and his girl. Shout out to Yatsu. Coach Greg Adams again, because that man has gotten seriously Second Amendment advocacy within the past 2 years. Gotta give him his props there. Shout out all my boys in Harlem, my boy Prince watching right now. Shout out to you too. You know, my people's in the Bronx, and my people in Jersey, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, Florida, Texas, the entire Libertarian Party. Shout out to you all. Larry Sharp, I love you. Joe Jorgensen, you the bomb. Spike Cohen, you know, let's get another run going. Stacy Pressman, Chrissy Mayer, all of our constitutional Democrats and Republicans. This is Tony Simon. I am Cash First. Once again, my co-host Z Dot was not able to be here with us tonight in physical, but he was here with us in spirit. Thank you so much for tuning in. For those who came on late, catch the rerun is going to be uploaded momentarily. This is the Fix for New York, and simply because you fix New York, the most densely populated area within the United States, the spillover effect will fix the planet. Thank you for watching. Catch y'all next time.
My lasagna get cold.